It's amazing what you can do. So you can actually have race cars racing across the website into your ad, and then you can see as they click through this, it can expand. In this particular example, I think it even has audio.
This totally is truly a unique racetrack. Pennsylvania area, and they come out in large numbers when we come to race at Pocono Raceway.
So I won't go through all of that. I guess I'm trying to make the point that you've got to be creative. You've got to think outside the box to get the attention of that consumer. So in that case, it was racing for the Pocono Mountains. But you know what? The Poconos also have other stakeholders. They have stakeholders that like to put on weddings. So we have doves. They have stakeholders that also golf. So again, this is an example of trying to target your ad to that person and that constituent by being creative. And in this case, it was actually a co-op, whereas the underlying resort paid for part of it. It's important to be consistent in all your brand advertising, irregardless of discipline. You remember the life lesson that we showed you in Barbados. You can see a little thing at the top here that it would work through, and it talked about the perfect rum punch. And you can see the recipe. And then if you want, you can even click on and see the video. And in this case, the life lesson was the perfect rum punch.
They do make the best rum punch.
That's what we do in my shop. We make the best rum punch.
I make the perfect rum punch.
How do you make the perfect rum punch?
The recipe is 1 of sour, 2 of...
I won't go on through it all, but you get a sense. When you have those assets, in our case, we have those 15 life lessons. We use them all over the board. And, not that being a chairman of an advertising agency, that it's a big deal, but, and you shouldn't brag about awards, but that particular campaign, the entire Barbados campaign, actually won Best of Show in the Adrians, which is the largest travel award show in New York. In terms of ad relevance is increased with real-time geo-behavioral data, product preference, et cetera. I'll show you an example of what I mean. This is actually a banner ad that's for the state of Colorado. And it's interesting because in this case, we have real-time feeds, so we know how much snowfall all of the different resorts have. And that's happening real-time, irrespective of when somebody opens the ad. Certainly, you can see the video and watch that sort of thing. But we know if they're looking at this ad, because of our targeting, we know they're looking at something else that has to do with skiing. We know they fit into our target audience because they demonstrate they travel to Colorado. And then we can actually target this ad, believe it or not, using IP addresses to only people that live in Colorado drive markets or live in a city that has a direct flight to Colorado. So it's pretty amazing how you can do that. And now, as you can see, it even is showing in real time how much snowfall the different resorts had. The other thing you're seeing more and more online are games. This is a case, again, for Colorado. And it's a pretty simple game. And, you can make them pretty inexpensively. And games are great because at that point in time, you're engaging that person. It's an interaction. And the other nice thing about it is typically with a game, one reason you're doing it is to get that interaction. But the other reason you're doing it is because then they can send that game to somebody else. Obviously, they have to opt in, show their email address to do that, so you have just that much more information. The average time spent on this particular game ad was about 30 seconds, and the pass-along rate was 25%. And then I think we're up for our next question.
¿Cuál es la tasa de respuesta en la industria turística para los avisos de Internet? 25%, 2%, 7,3%, 5,48%. Comenzó la votación. Fin de la votación.
All right, we're going to leave digital. And we're actually going to go into search marketing. You know, if you rank the search engines as of last year, and I think we just need to change that one screen back over. It's easier for you guys to see that one, I think. This would be the ranking. You'd have it in that order, Google by far owning the largest share. That said, if you count YouTube, and I think you should, YouTube actually is now the second largest search engine in the world. Pretty amazing. And technology has certainly affected search. And you know, the reason that, the reason they have, and the way they have, is because they're using IP targeting. IP targeting is a case where we can actually target our search terms within a certain radius of a market, so as we're not wasting it on places that we don't think it should go. Give you an example, and it's tough for you to see that at the top, I know. But remember, we had the live feed for the snow. We actually, in this particular ad, and this is an ad for Barbados, we had a live feed for weather. So what we did was, based on the IP addresses, we targeted everyone that lived in or within Chicago. And we knew, and so that was the first thing we did. We also knew that they were actually searching for a warm weather destination. The example I show there is Orlando. And then the weather feed shows us the forecast for Chicago, and that's what's at the top there. It actually shows the forecast for several days. And it won't even trigger the ad unless it's below a certain degree, right? So now it's personal. You're looking at a forecast, and it's not a very good forecast for Chicago. And then we show Barbados, of which it's perfect. And we know it's perfect because what we did was we actually went to an insurance company, and we actually bought a policy that insured anybody traveling to Barbados would get $100 back every day they were there if it was under 79 degrees and it rained a half an inch, right? You know, we trust us, we did our homework, because it never happens. Not once. I think we're up to our next question.
¿Cuál fue el incremento en las búsquedas de Google en Latinoamérica durante el 2010? 1, 20%, 2, 30%, 3, 50%, 4, 80%. Comenzó la votación. Fin de la votación.
All right. We talked a little bit about search. Now let's talk a little bit about social and PR. You know, it's interesting. I think Roger referred to this yesterday as earned media. You know, today you don't own your brand, you share it. It's a case we've got Facebook that now has 600 million users, launched in 2004. YouTube launched in 2005, and guess what? Google bought them for $1.65 million, which in today's standard, it was a real bargain. Twitter, certainly, you can knock yourself out so long as it's no more than 140 characters. Launched in 2006, 200 million users now, 65 million tweets per day. And then you've got things like Koala, which is a newer location-based social networking site that has about 600,000 users, and Flickr, which by last count has over 5 billion images. It's pretty amazing. And it's really a pretty inexpensive way to make a big impact. I'm going to show you a quick case study for the state of Colorado. It's a case where, in this case, we were trying to generate media buzz and to get people to a website to sign up to win a trip to Colorado. But the way they did it is they had to create a video of why they wanted to go to Colorado, and they had to not have ever seen snow before. So we started it, we called it Virgin Snow. The governor changed that. He's kind of an uptight guy. So we kind of changed it to Snow at First Sight. We created a website, and again, our primary objective was to create that media buzz.
This is snow. And the best snow in the world is found here, in Colorado. But if you're one who's never seen, smelled, touched, tasted, breathed, kicked, or carved snow, then chances are you've never done this. Or this. And most certainly not this. And that? Well, that's a shame. But lucky for you, it doesn't have to be this way, because Colorado is giving you the chance to win a 3-month winter adventure of a lifetime. Here's what you do. Make a video and convince us you're ready to experience snow at first sight. Sing, dance, beg, plead, whatever. Just make it good. Then if your video is one of the top 3, this winter you just might find yourself doing this. And this. Some of this. A bit of this. And possibly a whole lot of this. Best of all, you'll be doing it all in a place like this. Colorado Snow at First Sight. Enter now.
So I'm not going to bore you with all those numbers. There's a lot of numbers up there, but I will tell you, it got nearly 500 million, not million, 500 million impressions. By all accounts, it was a big success. The state of Colorado actually saw a 20-to-1 return on investment. You know, good news travels fast, but weird news travels even faster, especially when it's on the internet. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is actually a ski lift. This guy's hanging upside down, and I've covered his buttocks, but he's completely naked. He's stuck. And that image actually traveled all the way around the world and back before the guys at Vail Resorts even knew of the incident. Now I think we've got 2 questions.
¿Cuál es la plataforma de redes sociales que tiene un 80% de utilización a través de dispositivos móviles? 1. Facebook. 2. Twitter. 3. YouTube. 4. Flickr. Comenzó la votación. Votación. ¿En qué país Facebook experimentará el mayor crecimiento en el 2011? ¿En Estados Unidos, en India, en China o en Rusia? Comenzó la votación.
I know the answers.
Fin de la votación.
All right, let's move on. We'll get this screen up, but the point here is you can't ignore the power of social media. United Airlines found out the hard way. Meet Dave Carroll. Dave had an unfortunate experience on United Airlines and was getting very little relief. And Dave was a professional entertainer, so he created and posted this video on YouTube.
Flew United Airlines on my way to Nebraska. The plane departed Halifax, connecting in Chicago's O'Hare. While on the ground, a passenger said from the seat behind me, "My God, they're throwing guitars out there." The band and I exchanged a look, best described as terror, at the action on the tarmac, and knowing whose projectiles these would be. And so before I left Chicago, I alerted 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me. United, united, you broke my Taylor guitar. United, united, some big help you are. You broke it, you should fix it. You're liable, just admit it. I should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars.
You know, it cost Dave Carroll $1,200 for a new guitar. I don't know if you can see that, but it cost United Airlines $180 million. Times reported United stock dropped 10% within 4 days. So social media certainly has an impact. And I think more and more travel companies are realizing you don't want to fall into this. This guy has made a nice living now. He's actually posted 3 of those kinds of videos. You ought to check them out. They're pretty entertaining. But those were obviously polished. But there's also less polished versions of social media. And I'll show you this example.
For about a 16-hour flight or a 15-hour flight, and the seat doesn't stick properly. So it slides forward. And it's
So people are posting it all the time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this website. It's called Flights from Hell. And it's a website that where you can submit your worst travel nightmares. And it's really pretty funny. If you ought to go check that out. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to move on now out of social into mobile. Everybody's getting into the act. You know, it's where the online world meets the real world, and you've got to be ready to play. And you can play about anywhere. That's the neat thing about mobile. Regardless of what you're doing, and especially in travel. You know, give you a couple of statistics. Mobile search has gone up, has seen a 500% growth from 2008 to 2010. That's a pretty remarkable statistic, right? But in travel, it's gone up 1,200%. So what are they looking for? You know, consumers are looking for businesses. They're certainly looking for friends nearby, local businesses, locate a business on a map, things to do, get driving directions, find local store hours. They're doing everything. And you know, as time goes by, they're going to be doing more and more. This the mobile is really going to be, I think, the big dog in the fight here shortly. And I think that brings us to our next question as it relates to mobile.
¿En qué año el uso de Internet a través de usuarios de dispositivos móviles superará a los de las computadoras de escritorio? 1, 2012, 2, 2014, 3, 2017, 4, 2020. Comenzó la votación. Fin de la votación.
Okay, that was just one question. Location, location, location. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the term LBS, but location-based services. It's changing our world. Not only can you get the deal, they can push you a barcode for a discount. Scary thing about that video is we made that video for actually a telephone or cell phone manufacturer 4 years ago. So it's come a long way since then. It's seen explosive growth in terms of, especially because of the smartphone penetration. 1 in 4 U.S.